Welcome back to another Film Geek video. Today I am talking about 5 different science fiction films that completely bombed at the box office but are quite good and deserve a viewing. These are in no particular order. This isn't a ranking or best of or anything of that sort. This is just 5 films that I wanted to talk about, and I'm trying to do some different kind of formats to my videos on this channel. Instead of just following a strict more review type thing, I'm going to try to branch out a little bit, do some lists, do some more hunt videos. I've got some unboxing videos coming up here soon. I've got this one coming here at the end of the month that I'm looking forward to. It's a media thing. It's a physical media company, and they send you random Blu-rays or even video games. Anyways, I will be doing that at the end of the month. So just kind of trying some different things here on the channel. So anyways, guys, let's get on with the list, shall we? These are 5 science fiction films that bombed at the box office, but are quite good. First up, we have 2012's Dredd, based off of the comic book Judge Dredd. Now, this is not your typical superhero comic book movie. This film just really doesn't hold your hand much at all. It does a little bit of explaining the situation. It tells you about, hey, the future, it's all messed up and everything. There's these guys called judges. They go around distributing justice, and then they just kind of throw you into the movie. They let you know that there's this drug on the street called slow-mo that slows the brain down, and it also adds an extremely awesome visual effect to the movie, which that's another thing. This film is stunningly beautiful. It looks outstanding. I love the effects in this movie. When they take the drug slow-mo, the film goes into this whole slow motion effect, and everything around it gets this really cool aura and colors and everything else. I love the way this film looks. The story is also quite solid. It doesn't really try to do too awful much. Like I said, it does one of those kind of world buildings as you go along. It doesn't really hold your hand. It just tells you, hey, here's what's going on, and then boom, you are in the situation. Basically, Judge Dredd and his trainee get stuck in this gigantic apartment building and have to fight their way up to the top to the end boss, basically, Mama, who is the drug dealer, the head honcho of the drug slow-mo. And so they have to go fighting through different levels of bad guys all the way to the top of this gigantic mega apartment. This film is just the epitome of absolute gore, violence, and a bloody good time. Dredd is directed by Pete Travis, and it's starring Carl Urban, absolutely perfectly cast as Judge Dredd in this film. If you love The Boys, well, actually, he's nothing like Billy in The Boys. Absolutely nothing like that character, except for the fact that they both love shooting people in the face and distributing their own version of justice. So if this sounds like something that you might like to check out, look it up. It is a solid film from beginning to end. If you're someone who really enjoys bloody, violent action films, this is definitely your cup of tea. So, Judge Dredd 2012 is the first on this list. Next up, we're diving into the sci-fi horror genre with 2018's Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman. This movie tells the story of a group of scientists who go into this weird dimensional portal. They call it the Shimmer. Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. Anyways, Natalie Portman plays the wife of a soldier whose group initially goes into the Shimmer. She's then asked to go into the Shimmer looking for them because her soldier husband does not come back. This movie is a trip. Not only is it very, very scary, spooky kind of... This isn't a jump scary movie. Let me put it to you that way. This isn't an in-your-face kind of scary. It's more of an overwhelming feeling of dread. Throughout the entire time that they're going through this dimension, you just have this feeling of dread. Like at any given time, something could possibly jump out at you. Even though there aren't any jump scares in this movie, there's always that feeling. There's a few monsters, I guess you could call them. There's some mutated creatures throughout the film when they go into this alternate dimension that they have to deal with. There's an alligator that's pretty close to a normal alligator, but the further into this dimension, and I'm just going to keep calling it a dimension, the Shimmer, whatever, things start to get a lot weirder. The DNA starts to morph more into plants. things start to cross over into each other. It gets really wild. And that's another thing. This film's look is amazing. Not only is it spooky and scary, but it is very bright and colorful. This is not one of those movies that are dark and you can't see what's in the shadows. No, you can see things perfectly fine. There are a couple of scenes in the film that are at night, but most of this movie takes place in the bright daylight. And with all the flowers and green grass and all, this movie just pops. It looks unbelievably colorful for having such an overwhelming amount of dread and atmosphere and horror attached to it. This is also a pretty slow burn. If you're not someone who's into that kind of thing, you might not find this movie as enjoyable as myself. But if you're in the mood for a movie that takes its time unfolding and telling the mystery of this weird shimmering dimension, then this is probably the movie for you. And yes, it also bombed pretty hard at the box office. Next up, we're diving into more of the family-friendly science fiction delight. Yeah, I know, right? What a big leap from going from something like Annihilation to 1985's Explorers. This is the first film of both Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. Directed by Joe Dante, yes, Joe Dante of Gremlins and Gremlins 2, this movie tells the story of a group of friends who build a spaceship. That's right, they build a spaceship and go flying off into space. This film is a lot of fun. It really speaks to the childlike wonder in every single one of us that love films like this. If you're a fan of movies like The Goonies, Monster Squad, and, well, Explorers, this is definitely going to be right up your alley. This is one of those absolutely perfect 80s family films that you just don't find anymore. Not only, in my opinion, this is my opinion, the 80s were just an absolutely great time for horror and family fun films. You just don't get live action movies like this anymore unless they're tied to some licensed franchise or something. Not stuff that stand on its own 2 feet such as this. This film does kind of suffer from a lagging third act where things feel very muddled and thrown together. There were some issues with the studio back in the day. Joe Dante fought them and tried to get a much better third act in the film, and from what I understand, he's never quite been happy with the way this movie's turned out. He also has said in interviews that he doesn't feel that this movie had a third act. It just kind of feels different than everything else. This is one of those films that has an absolutely amazing build-up, and then when you finally get to where it's supposed to be really, wow, it's fun, but it really seems a little lackluster to the journey that was getting to it. Other than that, though, this is a really solid film, and you should check this one out. I do believe that this is streaming right now on Paramount Plus. I could be wrong. It's a Paramount film, and I know these streaming services try to shove as much crap on there as they possibly can, so you might find it. Also, too, this is a film with Dick Miller. He has a small part in that, so if you're a fan of the character actor, this is another one that you need to add to your watch list. Up next, we're staying in the 80s, but a bit more of an adult theme with 1988's Earth Girls Are Easy. Directed by Julian Temple, Earth Girls Are Easy has one outstanding cast. Get ready for this, guys. Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey, and Damon Wayne. Yes, they were all in this movie. It tells the story of I think she does nails. Yeah, she does nails. Gina Davis plays a nail technician, if that's a thing. Anyways, she does nails, right? And lo and behold, 3 aliens, furry aliens, crash land in her pool in Southern California. I think that's where they are. So I don't know California too awful well, but wherever the valley is for sure, dude, that is where they're at. Crashes in her pool, and well, good old wackiness ensues. This movie is perfect. If you're wanting to find something that just bleeds the 80s, this is the movie for you. If you're a Zoomer and you want to know what life was really like in the 80s, this is not the movie. No. This movie is not what the 80s were like. This is more of a satire, spoof, parody of what the 80s were like. This is what those TV shows on VH1, this is what those shows lead you to believe the 80s were like. And by the way, did I mention, not only is this a sci-fi comedy, but it is a musical, or at least it has musical parts. It's one of those almost musicals, like they have dance numbers and routines and everything, and then it goes a really long time in between a song, and then all of a sudden the movie's like, oh, shit, we're supposed to be a musical and then they do a song or something. It's really wild how this film flows. It feels like a bunch of writers got into a room and they just took a bunch of spaghetti and just threw it against the wall and went like, fuck yeah guys, Earth Girls are easy, let's do this shit. This movie comes off as an absolute fever dream by the time you're done watching it. Now from the 1980s, we're going into, well, post-apocalyptic world. In 2009's The Road. So I'm going from upbeat, happy, good times to a son and father trying to survive in a world where there's no food, no vegetation, nothing. This movie is just the epitome of downer. This is not a movie you put on when you're like, you know what? I want to feel good about things. This is the kind of movie that you put on to just show people that you're like, I'm one of those cinema folk. That's right. I like movies like The Road. Not that this is like all artsy-fartsy or anything like that. It's just a very grounded in reality post-apocalyptic film. This is not Mad Max. This is very realistic and probably what it would be like if society completely collapses. This is also based off of the book of the same name. The movie is starring Viggo Mortensen, and let me tell you guys, he knocks it out of the ballpark in this film. His performance is outstanding. It's probably one of my favorite films with him starring in it. And yes, I know he was in Lord of the Rings, but man, if you want to see something that he should have got an award for, this is the movie you need to check out. The film itself does not have a very large cast. It is very realistic again with the apocalypse. There's just a handful of people in this world throughout the entire thing. There are no lines also. Like throughout the entire movie, the son's like, are we the good guys, Dad? Even though they have to make these horribly terrible decisions, they really are kind of the good guys throughout this entire thing. This movie has elements of science fiction, horror, drama. It is just one of those movies that just kind of puts everything together like a big old burrito. This is a very, very solid watch. It's a very good movie, but it's definitely something you gotta be in the mood for. Maybe watch this and then watch Earth Girls Are Easy so you can feel a little bit happier with humanity. But this is a really solid film and something that you need to add to your watch list. Okay guys, well there you go. 5 different science fiction films that completely bombed at the box office, but are actually quite good and deserve a watch or even a purchase on physical media if you're a collector like myself. So if you enjoyed what you saw here today, guys, I am going to keep this going. I'm going to keep doing lists and rankings and everything along with my new movie reviews, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break on the individual spotlight film videos that I used to do. They are just a little too close to my actual reviews, so I feel like things are getting kind of muddled and I want to branch out for some different things on my channel. So if you like this, guys, give me the big old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing, and please subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos such as this. And if there's one more thing you could do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.